This is Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
All right. Well, welcome to Monday Night Sports. I was just texting Tony B saying, I'm okay giving up some time. You're talking to a young brother going to HBCU and doing some wonderful things in the community. Fanico, proud of you, my brother. And good to see young African-Americans taking a leadership role, doing some wonderful things. Well, I teased the show. I told you about it. We're going to talk all things NBA today for about another 25 minutes. I'm here, but you don't really care about my opinion. You care about the opinion of the guy I'm going to bring on. And he is an award-winning Hall of Fame, former NBA editor for USA Today. I call him the big dog, David DuPree. We're going to talk a little bit about the MVP award and kind of what is the criteria? Really, what should the criteria be as you take a look at the NBA, or rather, I should say, at the MVP award for the NBA? And then just a quick recap of, some incredible Game 7s yesterday. I think some surprises, man. Maybe not so much a surprise that Boston beat Milwaukee, even though Milwaukee, the defending champ, Boston, been playing just lights out since the beginning of the year. But I certainly think that, what the Mavs laid on the Suns, oh my goodness. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Anyway, if David is here, we'll bring him on. If not, you'll just listen to my analysis of it. Oh, there he is.
No. We're not going to just listen to your analysis.
Can't do that for 25 minutes, huh? I might be the only one listening, huh? Oh, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you, Rick?
I'm okay. So, let's start out. I want to talk about the MVP because Nikola Jokic won it again 2 times in a row, or consecutive. And he, this is interesting. He's the 13th player to win the award, for consecutive seasons. And some elite company: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bird, Chamberlain, Steph Curry, Tim Duncan, LeBron, Magic, Michael Jordan, Moses Malone. We got a story about Moses Malone, don't we? Moses Malone, Steve Nash, and Bill Russell. And David, before we get into that, I just, as I say that last name, Bill Russell, I don't think people today understand how good Bill Russell was and how dominant he was. Can you maybe give your opinion on that just a little bit, and then we can talk a little bit more about the MVP award?
Why do you think the Celtics won all those championships? It was because of one man.
Yeah,
he held everything together. And what's remarkable is there were only 9 teams, I think, when he first started, and that meant he had to go against Wilt Chamberlain like 89 times a year.
I know, man.
And there was no such thing as double teams or any of that kind of stuff back then. It was just him against Wilt, and we know who won most of the time.
Yeah. And people don't realize, Wilt Chamberlain in a single season averaged 50 points, 25 rebounds a game. And the man couldn't shoot a free throw.
But guess what? When he scored 100 points in a game, he made like 28 out of 34. That game
really, that's amazing. When you look back, I think about, kind of back the previous eras and the athletes and some of the things that they did. And like you said, it was mano a mano. He was going against Wilt Chamberlain, who arguably one of the greatest scorers, in the game. So pretty interesting. But
I think that on that point, the basic difference between Wilt and Russell was just one thing. Wilt was a better athlete. He was a better player. He was stronger, bigger, could score more, could do everything. But Russell knew what he had to do to make his team better. And I'm a big Wilt Chamberlain fan, but that was the big thing that Russell had over him. Russell knew how to get, even back in the day, how to get his teammates involved, how to play off of them. Where Wilt was the center point, but Russell was the glue. And that's he was Draymond Green before Draymond Green. That's quantify players like that. You look at stats and say, but then you talk to their teammates, you talk to the coaches, you talk to the other players, and they say, oh no, Draymond is the reason why they win. Period.
Yeah.
You can Steph Curry all you want, you can greatest 3-point shooter and 3 points and shimmies and all that kind of stuff, but Draymond Green is the man who holds that team together.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and you take a look at Bill Russell. And I recall something that Casey Jones talked about, and what I'm hearing you say, correct me if I'm wrong. Wilt understood it was a team game; it wasn't just an individual thing. And obviously, each individual knowing their role. But Casey said this to me one time. He said, "Rick, Casey is still DuPree, but he said he was playing in an era when there was a huge amount of racism, and he said some of the players, on the team, they didn't really talk, but he said, Rick." He said, when we crossed that threshold, that door going into the locker room, we became family. And for KC, obviously there with Bill at two national championships, a gold medal, and then eight of his 9 years NBA champion. But he understood that as well. Was certainly a role player. But people don't realize how great KC was, and also drafted by the Rams. And I mean, he was a phenomenal athlete in of himself. So yeah. But hey, let's shift gears on the MVP award. So I take a look at it. Jokic, great numbers. I mean, all kinds of. But in your opinion and in your history, as covering the NBA, what do you think are the criteria the voters look at? And does that line up with what you think is really what it should be, or is there something different?
No, it's a popularity contest. It's a vote. That means there is no criteria. Everybody has different criteria. And sometimes people just get tired. Like I'll say right now, after Michael Jordan won his first MVP, I voted for Michael Jordan every single year. Every single year. Before the season started, I would fill out my ballot. And I said, if he gets hurt, I'll change. If he doesn't, I'm not. And then Karl Malone won it 2 years. Karl Malone, I think, won it twice. And he won it for one reason. People got tired of voting for Jordan. And that's wrong. Jordan was the most valuable, dominant, best, everything there could be, but people just got tired of voting for him. And I think this last season, no one questions what happened. This season, people question the fact that Jokic won. But Jokic, if I had to vote this year, I would vote for Jokic. There's no. I don't know how to say it so it sounds right. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
He had. You know what? Player efficiency ratings. He had the highest player efficiency rating in the history of the National Basketball Association. And he was playing without the second and third best players on his team. Your boy Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. And he was still able to do what he did. I mean, I like Joel Embiid, but Jokic was the man. And if people don't understand that, then they are voting for reasons that don't make sense to me. It's not even to me, and I'm neutral, obviously. It wasn't even close. I would watch Embiid play and I'd say, wow, he's triple teamed and he does this. Okay, why are you 50 feet from the basket anyway? Jokic can pass, he can shoot, he can run. I'm almost in awe of him as I am of Luka Doncic. As they
we're talking about him in a minute.
And they say on TV shows, that's a bad white boy.
Yeah, indeed. So the Joker, we're seeing some highlights of, but it's Joker, interesting. Man. So I'm just give some numbers, which I think are I mean, it's relevant. 27 points a game, 13, almost 14 rebounds, 7.9 assists, 1.5 steals a game, 0.85 blocks. And just he ranked 6th in the NBA in points. He was 2nd in rebounds, 8th in assists, 12th in steals, 33rd in blocks. Led the league in total rebounds, total defensive rebounds, career high 58% from 58% from the field. It just goes on and on. He became the first player in NBA history, I think, to your point, David, to record 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, 500 assists in a season. And the first player to average at least 25 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists in a season. He also led the league with triple doubles, 19, and double doubles was 66. Both of those records for the Nuggets. So, I mean, certainly, arguably, I mean, I think you could argue that he deserved it.
No question. No question.
It's interesting. You were talking about Jordan and a guy who. And I think when people saw the series where I'm forgetting the name of it now, the series that they had on him.
Winning Time.
Thank you. I think people got to see, and I remember you told me this. I remember talking to you a lot. And if you're just joining us, I'm Rick DuPree, along with David DuPree, former NBA editor of USA Today, and we're talking all things NBA. And you talked about Jordan, and you told a story about the game when he scored. I think it was 40 something against Utah in the playoffs when he was sick, and and maybe I don't know if you. I'd like you to tell the story because I think it points out the type of guy he was. But as people saw in the documentary, that here was a dude, man. He was all about winning, and he could be brutal.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about that. That's The Last Dance. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yes,
I was thinking Winning Time is the one it's on now.
Yeah, it's on now about the Lakers. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I was like, and he's a guy you saw in that, and then you had guys like Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen complaining, or what have you. They would complain when they get in the rings, but my thing is that Jordan just, he was brutal, but he was like, if you did your job, you did what you're supposed to do, it was all good. But if you didn't, he was all over you, huh?
You did not want him not on your side. But he was there. I've been around a lot of athletes in my day, and I've never been around anybody who would not accept losing like this cat. Jordan was about winning. He's about winning any and everything, about winning every scrimmage and practice. About winning is all the man knows. It's all he knew. And if you wanted to win, you listened to him. If you didn't want to win, then get the you-know-what out here. He didn't want nothing to do with you. Yeah. Nothing to do with you.
Yeah. And I think as an athlete, as a teammate, you can't argue with that because he left it on the floor. He was bringing it all. And it's not like a guy who is not putting in the work, not doing what he has to do. It's interesting. I remember a story, and this is about Kevin Durant and Jeff Green. And when Colangelo started kind of the developmental portion of USA basketball and the younger players. So this is early on, Kevin Durant obviously here in Seattle's first year, but as the story goes, they were down there working out, and there was a day off, and they go into the gym, and there was one guy there working out, and his name's Kobe Bryant. And it's a day off, but Kobe's still working, and those guys, Jordan, Kobe, just at a different level of commitment, of drive, desire to win, whatever you want to call it, but they're pretty incredible. Real quickly, I don't know if you want to tell the story of you said somebody at the arena called you, said to get there early to see Jordan as he was getting there, that game against Utah when he was sick, and But if you, I think it just tell the story so people can understand kind of his mentality.
Mike Wilbon and I were covering at that time, I remember, and we both got this call. They said, "Your boy's sick." I said, "Well, how sick?" "He's pretty sick." "You want to know how sick he is? Get to the game at X o'clock when we get in with the bus." The man got off the bus. You would have thought he was a bum off the street who hadn't eaten in 8 weeks. He could barely walk, could hardly talk, was leaning against Pippen, almost the whole time into the locker room. Said, "This cat, I don't know what you think is going on, but this cat ain't going to play." Mm-hmm. Warm-ups, he came out, shot a couple shots, and said, "Yeah, nice try, Mike. Good for you." Boy, that game started, and you would have thought that this cat, I don't know what you would have thought, but he just turned on a gear that said, don't anyone talk to me about anybody being as good as him. And then they play the game. He wins the game. The minute the horn goes off, he can't move. They got to help him off the court stuff. And people saying, "Oh, he wasn't really sick." The man was sick. Mm-hmm. The man was sick. But he had that inner thing that people, only the great ones can call upon when they need it. And he called upon it when he needed it. And you would not have known. Utah heard he was sick. There were reports that they poisoned some pizza he had and all that kind of stuff, Right. And then they sat there like this. Really? Almost the whole game. What that? I thought this guy was sick. Then they accused him of faking and stuff. The man was not faking. The man was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. That's David DuPree. He's talking about Michael Jordan. But let's talk real quickly. We got about 2 10 minutes or so, couple, man, incredible game sevens. I'll start out with Boston, Milwaukee. I don't think as big a surprise. Obviously Milwaukee, the defending champion, but Boston's at home. Now was a huge surprise, of who stepped up and did something, and just, I think an incredible, incredible game, for Grant Williams. That cat just, how many threes did he hit? It was like, come on, this dude was just incredible. But Boston's been, man, they just been out of this world since, January. And that's going to be a heck of a series between them and Miami.
I think people have to understand two things. First of all, both of those teams got 3-point shooters, which means they will spread the floor.
Yeah.
And both of them, no matter what you might think, hang their head on defense. And when you've got teams like that, that means that nothing's going to come easy. That all these baskets that, like, I'm a Budenholzer fan. I think he's a very good coach. But I know you got where you got by letting teams take 3-point shots and shutting down other stuff. But man, after a while, you got to say, no, we have to stop the damn 3-point shot.
Right.
You can't give up that many threes and expect to win the game. If the team is missing them, well, maybe you give it a shot. But once they start making them, you can't let them do it. You can't let Grant Williams stand out there like he's in practice and shoot uncontested 3-point shot after 3-point shot. You even got little dudes from Oregon making 3-point shots.
And that's the thing. People don't understand how good these guys are. Now I fashion myself as being a decent athlete and was a good shooter. The NBA 3-point shot was a heave. It was a hard shot for me. That was deep. And these guys just thrown up. And again, like you said, if they're uncontested, I'm looking at the stats. Hold up. And so the Celtics were 22 of 55, so 40%. In contrast to Milwaukee was only 4 of 33, 12%.
They took 55 3-point shots.
Yeah.
You know why they can take 55 3-point shots? Because they know they can go get stops.
Yeah.
And if you play defense and you're going to get stops, you can afford to take 3-point shots and you can afford to miss a lot of them.
Yeah.
But Boston is again, it's another question of being well coached and people on the same page. Remember, there was talk early this season that Jaylen Brown and Tatum can't play together and all this. And Udeko, the coach, said, look, I'm not trading either one of you. We're going to win with you two or we're going to lose without you. So it's up to you to do what you're supposed to damn do. Just go out and play basketball. And then they have what I call Junior Draymond Green and Marcus Smart. I hate Marcus Smart. I hate him. I don't like anything about him. But if I'm picking a team,
you gonna pick Marcus Smart. Yeah.
Marcus Smart. That's a tough, rough, no nonsense brother who can play basketball, and the team responds to that. And when you got a guy who will do that kind of dirty work and who has your back on every play, you're going to put out a little bit more than those two.
Wait. Marcus Smart, man, was guarding Giannis. How big is Marcus Smart? He was 6'5"?
Yeah. He will guard anybody. You think he gives a heck about he don't give a hoot.
He was just,
He don't, with your silent G in your name, he don't care about nobody. Giannis or nobody. He's out there to win a basketball game. He will dive on the floor. He'll get in your face. And if you don't guard him, he will make a 3 on your behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Who do you pick in that Boston-Miami series?
I hate it because I think Spoelstra is the best coach in the league right now.
Really?
And they've got a good team. But
they do.
Like I'm a big, NBA on TNT, and I'm a big Kenny Smith fan. Mm-hmm. And Kenny Smith has always said, home court means a lot, Dada means a lot, but the team who has the best player means more than anything else. And I think, based on what I've seen so far, the best player in that series is Jason Tatum. And that means I got to pick Boston, although everything says, well, Miami this, Miami that, but they got Jason Tatum. And the thing that separates him from best player, let's just say you say the best player on Miami is Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
The thing that he has on Jimmy Butler is he can make a three in your face. Jimmy Butler's a mid-range or go to the back, great player. But that 3-point shot that that team has, and Jimmy Butler, I love Jimmy Butler. He may give you 35, 10, and 8, but Tatum will give you 50, 50, 5-0. And when you got a guy on your team that is capable of giving you 50 points on any given night, you have such a great advantage. And then when you play defense like they play defense and stuff, I just don't see it. As much as I like Miami, I just don't see how they can beat Boston.
Yeah, I mean, and Boston has just been, one of the best teams, since January. I didn't realize. I can't remember if it's since January or since the All-Star break. Dallas, I think, has the best or the second best.
January, it's Boston in January. Since Boston and Dallas since January.
Yeah. So yeah. And I think the other thing is that, and if you just joined us, you're listening to Monday Night Sports. We got about 5 minutes left here. I'm Duke. That's David DuPree. We're talking NBA playoffs. And here's the thing: you talk about Jason Tatum, what have you. The man is 6'8" tall. Come on, man.
24 years old.
That's just insane. That's insane.
Come on.
All right, we're going to spend the last couple of minutes taking a look at the Suns Mavericks. What do you say, man? It's interesting. I was watching ESPN earlier, Patrick Beverly. Man,
I saw Patrick.
I was like, he was getting it out on Chris Paul, and understandably so. And I'll talk about that in a minute. It's funny. JJ Redick though said, "Well, let me preface it by saying he got something with the him and Chris Paul got something going on." And Beverly, I'm not trying to say, but man, JJ Redick said, "Nah, man, you got something against him." But the bottom line is this. Chris Paul, and people say, okay, I think this is the 5th time where the team he's on has led 2-0 and lost a series. Right. Can you blame it on him only? No. Come on. You can't blame it on one guy. But I will say this: the last 5 games. He tanked it, and I think Beverly made a really, really good point. Is that Jason Kidd recognized what they needed to do, and they attacked him, made it tough. They were doubling. Booker every time he got the ball. That dude there, Jalen Brunson is a player, but I think Jason Kidd did a masterful job coaching. And Patrick Beverly made a good point. He said, that they benched the wrong guy. That Monty benched the wrong guy. They shouldn't have benched the big guy. They should have benched. And when he said bench, not necessarily totally, but make a change and see if you can do something, because Chris Paul was ineffective and had been ineffective the previous 4 games.
Yeah, the trouble is, I love Monty Williams, and I like Phoenix as a team, but they're one of those teams who is built for the regular season, not for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Because in the playoffs, you can zero in after 1 or 2 or 3 games, and it's textbook how you stop them. They don't go to the basket, so they don't get to the free throw line. Yeah. They really don't shoot threes. So their game is basically a mid-range, started from the elbow and do that kind of stuff. And they said, we're taking the elbow away. Mm-hmm. You want to go to the basket, go ahead. You want to shoot threes, go ahead. And they can't. And they make Chris Paul work at both ends of the floor. You force him to go to his left. And then if he does, there is of all the teams in the playoffs, the one that has the easiest recipe to follow to beat, unfortunately, is Phoenix. And that's not an indictment against anybody or anything. It's just that, on paper, there's a plan you can beat him. How are you going to beat Dallas with Doncic? Tell me how. You can have a good shooting day. He can get hurt. There's things you might be able to do, but there's no surefire way to stop him. Yeah. And there's no surefire way to stop Miami, because the way they play, everybody doing what they're supposed to do. In Boston, again, they're playing defense. So, it's tough. But Phoenix, there is a book that says this is how you beat them. And Chris Paul, one other thing about Chris Paul that I think you have to understand, he's getting all this credit, which is rightful at his age, for doing what he can do, which to me just says, look how great LeBron James is. He's the same age, and he plays a game that is hard on your body. Chris Paul does not play a game that's hard on his body. And at his age, it is remarkable what he's doing, but think about what LeBron is doing at that age. I don't think that's one thing I don't mean to bring up the Lakers or LeBron James at a time like this, but that's one thing people just don't understand about LeBron James. He's unworldly at his age to be able to do what he does.
Well, and the thing, we got about a minute. And the thing about LeBron, and it's been widely publicized. I mean, he's spending, like a lot of guys, right? He spends, how much million, 2 million, whatever it is, on his care. I mean, that's the investment, and the return on his investment, is phenomenal, and it makes sense. But I mean, you're right. He is. And I remember, Dave. I remember you told me, you said, "Man, Ricky, there's this kid in Ohio, and if the NBA allowed kids to be drafted before their senior in high school, he'd be the number one pick." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, right, whatever." That was after his sophomore year, and then I'm sorry, that was during his junior year, I think. And then senior year is when they were all on television and everything. But yeah, it was his junior year. You told me, you said, if they could draft, a junior out of high school, this kid would be the first to pick. I'm like, you're crazy. Come on.
See, there was no in between of LeBron. He went from baby to grown man.
Yeah.
And that was it. And the rest is history. I never saw him. I went and saw him play in high school with Bernie Bickerstaff. I'll never forget. Bernie and I went to see him play, and we just looked at each other and said, "What the heck is going on here?" This kid moving the ball. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's involved in everything. He's at halftime and before the game, he's just loving everybody in this game and everything else. This kid, and then he went to the NBA, and guess what? He did the exact same thing he did in he was the closest thing to Magic that I'd ever seen. Magic was Magic. Magic owned everybody and everything in every family.
We're out of time. We'll talk about that. We're out of time. Magic and also the Moses Malone story. So we got some more NBA talking to do, and I'm going to try to talk to David. He's going to join us more often, as much as he will give me his time. He'll join us. So that is, we are out of time. Lid Line is next. Don't go anywhere. Thanks to David DuPree. Thanks to our producers, Caleb and Daniel B. Appreciate you, Jason Tatum. Yeah, Lid Line is next right here on the Rainier Avenue Radio. Until next week, peace and God bless.